Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my Game of Thrones Legends mobile game content. So folks, if you've been paying attention to the news and the announcements that's been going on here lately, you'll know that yesterday we got this official game news announcement that is an update to the raids that are coming soon. So let's go ahead and look at that together and try to kind of piece together what we think that's going to be like. So I'm going to go to the announcement and go over this. So on April 25th, we got an updates to raid attacks announcement. A new update is coming soon to Game of Thrones Legends, set to start with the new raid season on April 28th at 1 p.m. So today is actually the 26th as of I'm recording this video. So that means that in 2 days we're going to have these changes to the raids battle system. Recently, raids battles have become more strategic by rewarding attackers with more trophies when they defeat opponents with a higher trophy count, and fewer trophies when attacking those with a lower trophy count. Okay, so that statement right there, I do agree with. I do feel like it has made raids more interesting because you have to choose your targets a little more carefully. You want to choose targets that are stronger than you if possible so that you can reap the benefits of the increased trophies for flexing on them and pounding them into the dirt with your weaker power team. That's always fun. So I think that that's pretty good of a change, and I'm okay with that. So we said we want to take this a step further and provide more clarity and options to aid strategic choices in raids with the following updates. Attackers will now be able to choose from 3 opponents instead of just 1. Okay, so I guess that means that when you actually do a search for an opponent on the opponent search screen, it's going to display 3 results now instead of just 1 like we've been used to. That's going to allow you to assess your opponent's might, the potential trophies that you can win, and pick the worthiest opponent. Now opponent's trophy count will be displayed along the winnable trophies, making the trophy calculation more clear and easier to understand. Okay, so let's think about this logically. It costs, I think 100 food right now. Let me actually go into game and we'll see. Oops, I got some stuff I got to collect. Look at that. Sweet, sweet food. Half a mil. Can't resist. I got to get this while I'm here. Watch me get 100 on stream. That'd be cool. Come on. Nope. Just some gold. Okay, whatever. So, I'm not going to force you to watch an ad. Sorry. Let's look at the raids. And right now, the refresh mechanic is... Let me get rid of my free one. Okay, 150 each. So you can see that no matter how many you do, the way it's set up right now is still just 150 per refresh. A lot of people like that, a lot of people don't. So it's kind of a polarizing issue. Where you fall on the side of the fence is pretty much your choice at this point. So the addition of, and it's going to say that you're going to get 3 to choose from. So if it costs 150 per refresh and you only get 1, so if you do a new refresh on the new system, you'll get 3. So maybe that can kind of justify what we're going to see here in just a little bit is the increase in cost. I don't know, but let's talk about that next, because that's obviously the elephant in the room with this whole issue that everybody has been so upset about is what I'm fixing to talk to you about right now. With the addition of the 2 new opponents to choose from, we will be adjusting the food cost for each refresh to reflect the increased number of surfaced opponents. So that's basically exactly what I just said. We're talking about now that we get 3, maybe it should cost more because you're getting a bigger return for each refresh. So keeping it at 150 food per refresh doesn't sound smart from their perspective. Me as a player, I like the idea of keeping it at 150, but that's just because I don't want to lose my food because it's so hard to get, but whatever. We will raise the food cost for refreshing, okay? Starting from 3 free refreshes and scaling up from 100 up to 10,000 food per refresh until the end of the day. Our goal is to let players find worthy opponents, but ensure it comes at a meaningful cost. Okay, so this whole point about going up from 100 to 10,000 has hit the community in a really negative way. I think it's this number right here that's really scaring and aggravating people a lot, because it always seems like everything they do seems to be a mechanic to take stuff away from us. Very rarely do we see them add additions to the game that actually give us the option to get more resources. One of the exceptions to that was the Crowns Challenge. Obviously, that was amazing. We do get some resources from that now, so I am thankful for that, but a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this. They're going to raise the food cost, and they say it scales up from 100 to 10,000 until the end of the day. We don't know how much it scales each time. So if it was just 100, and let's say your first one was 100, your second one was 200, your third one was 300, and so on, all the way up to 10,000. I don't think that would be that bad, because who does that many raid battles in a day to actually get theirself up to the maximum of 10,000 and then start to feel the sting of that? At that point, you just quit, because it costs you more than it's worth, because you're not going to get the return from the battles to be able to justify the cost of what you're doing. But we don't know the scaling, because they didn't go into detail about what the scaling is going to be. If this scales up 300 per refresh, and the first one's 100, the next one's 400, the next one's 700, that type of thing, you can see where that kind of gets more difficult as the refresh amount increases. So it's going to be really interesting to see actually what the refresh amount ends up being per search on this guideline that they've set up right now from 100 to 10,000. It's going to be interesting to see just how many battles you can actually get in before you start to get into this 10,000 food territory, which is obviously where you quit for the day. I mean, if you were at the point that the refreshes were 10,000 food, you would be an idiot to continue to keep fighting. And I don't know that they really, yes, they probably did take that into consideration, but if it gets too oppressive, players just quit doing it and they go do something else. That was kind of like the problem that we had at the beginning of the game when the game released. There was not enough energy to be able to do everything you wanted to do, and players just quit playing because they run out of energy and they couldn't play. This system kind of gates you as well, I think, if the increments of increase are too oppressive. If you get up to 10,000 too quickly, you're only going to do a few battles a day and then you're going to quit. So that actually has a negative effect if that is the case. But we don't know the rate, so it could be good, it could be bad. We'll just see. Me personally, to get 3 opponent returns per refresh, I'm willing to pay an extra food cost because it works out in the long run. 3 enemies per refresh, and now that they're 150 each is like what, 400 to 500 food per refresh. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's on par with what we're doing now. We're just doing it singly. But if the matching algorithm does not work well, though, that can turn out to be a bad thing, because let's say you're 300,000 power, okay, and the matching algorithm consistently places you with 700,000 power opponents, which it does all the time. If it keeps giving you 3 results like that, then you have to keep refreshing, and you're just basically losing because you're wasting your food that you could be spending on leveling up gear and all that kind of stuff, and that's just doesn't seem feasible. Doesn't seem like the return on investment is there for something like that. But we'll have to see, because this rate of increase is going to be critical to whether or not this system works or not. It could work. It could make raids more meaningful, possibly. We'll have to see how the rate of refresh and the algorithm works to be able to know for sure. Then they went on to say, a few releases ago, we made adjustments so that Opponents tab only showed players from your tier or adjacent tiers. As we're moving to a system where the Opponents tab shows players a pool of opponents from their own tier, we want to enable attacks to happen on this tab, and less so on the player's own leaderboards. For that, with the launch of this feature, will reduce the leaderboard attacks per each opponent to happen just once per season. So be strategic and choose the best moment to strike when it will hurt your opponents most. And then that's pretty much all they had to say about that. But this is kind of a key point in this whole thing too, because when they're saying that they want to make the attacks happen on basically the search screen, when you look at your opponents, that's where I'm at right now. That's where you're doing the refresh to find opponents, and then it's going to display like 3 people in this window somehow. We'll see how they fit it all in. But if they really want you to attack here now, it almost seemed like the last few updates, they were trying to gear opponents towards attacking on here, on your actual raids bracket. It seemed like they wanted that to be more of a priority because they gave you more trophies for actually attacking people on your own raids bracket. So it seemed that they were trying to push us this direction. Now it seems like they're trying to pull us back from that and go back to the opponent's search screen for the majority of your battles. Because the way it works right now, you can see I have some victories and a defeat there, and I have attacked some people on my leaderboard. In a day or so, this will refresh and I'll get the ability to attack them again. But now, after that changes, you're only going to have a 1 attack ability, like this guy right here. If I wanted to attack him right now, I can only do that once per the whole season after they make that change. So 6-7 days you can only attack this guy once. So you definitely want to try to, it seems like with that kind of a mentality, you definitely want to focus on keeping your eye on the people that are ahead of you and strike when they're ahead so that you can get the most trophy return, and then hopefully that will drop them down and move you up in the process, and you can focus on the people that are ahead of you. Yes, when you do have downtime and you want to just get some trophies to stay in the running with keeping your position and all, you can attack the ones that are below you, and we'll see if that actually returns a decent rate of trophies, or if the opponent's rate of trophies that you get rewarded are a better option at that point. That's going to be interesting to see, because that will determine kind of what you do. If you're trying to stay ahead of the curve on your raids bracket and figure out a way to stay in the remaining zone, now do you focus on your bracket or do you focus on opponent search screen? It seems like they're pushing you towards focusing on the opponent search screen, where obviously you're going to spend more food, so I don't know if it's because they're trying to figure out a way to actually make raids more, I don't know, meaningful, I guess is the word I'm trying to find, so that when you actually participate in raids you feel like you made a difference and you got a reward based on your effort and it's more meaningful, or if they're just trying to find ways to use food as a sink to where they can raise the cost of the search to be able to draw more food out of the economy, to force players to look for ways to supplement food more, like purchases. It's hard to tell with this company, because obviously they need to make money so that they can stay in business. I get that, and I don't fault them for that, but a lot of the decisions they make seem overly greedy a lot of times, so I'm just kind of leery about a lot of that. Is this stuff they're saying truly because they want to make the raids more meaningful, or is it because we need to tweak the economy to our advantage? That's a tough decision to be able to make, to find out if that's truly the case or not. So yeah, but that's your changes that are coming up to the raids mechanic coming soon. You know, what are your thoughts? Hit the comments below this video and let me know what you think. Do you like this new proposed plan? Do you think an increased cost in searches and forcing you to focus on your opponent's search screen more than your raids bracket is a smart move? Do you feel like it makes raids more meaningful? Let me know what you think. Or, you know, if you don't like it, let me know what you think there, because I'm not gonna, have anything to really interact with you on if you don't share. So I'd appreciate it if you did share and take your time to put your thoughts down. I always appreciate that. If you like this content and you thought it was entertaining or informative, please think about subscribing to my channel. I'm trying to grow my channel. My next big milestone that I'm trying to reach is 5,000 subscribers, and I can only do that with your help. So I'd truly appreciate it if you'd, subscribe and like, and if you like the content, tick the notification bell so you don't miss any of the content I make going forward about Game of Thrones Legends. So I'll talk to you later in another video about Game of Thrones Legends coming soon. Peace.